1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome into another episode of the Talkin G-MAC podcast, and these are always my favorite episodes because sometimes we like to step away from the X's and O's a little bit, the championship talks, and talk a little bit more with our athletic administrators in the league. So we're pleased to welcome to Talkin G-MAC VP of Athletics at Cedarville University, Chris Cross, to the show. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for taking some time today.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Looking forward to having the conversation.
Before we get into some of how you got to this role and what you've done since taking over at Cedarville in 2022, I want to congratulate you all on receiving another NCAA President Award for Academic Excellence announced a couple of weeks ago. The 13th consecutive year that Cedarville has received this award. And for our listeners and viewers who aren't familiar with what that award is, it recognizes institutions that rank higher than 90% in ASR. You guys came in at 91%. So it's an academic award. You and Hillsdale were the two GMAC schools that were honored with that award. But can you just talk about what it means? I know it's something that has kind of become a standard at Cedarville, but what it means to be recognized for your academic efforts on campus.
Yeah, it's something we take a lot of pride in and are excited to receive. I know I'm just as excited about receiving that award as I am about winning a conference championship. I mean, it just speaks to the excellence that our student athletes bring both on and off the field, but it also speaks to the excellent faculty and staff that we have here at Cedarville University. You know, it's really fun to interact with our faculty and how they enjoy having our student athletes in their classes and having them engaged. And so this is a tremendous award. 13 years in a row is an excellent accomplishment. But it's really the type of student athletes that we are recruiting, that we want to bring to Cedarville are all high academic kids. So that's just the type of student athlete that we're looking for. And hopefully, Lord willing, it'll continue in the future.
Well, in your role, how do you balance athletic success and academic success on campus at Cedarville?
Well, it's difficult. Cedarville is a very intensive academic institution, and we strive for excellence in all aspects of the institution, and academics is right at the forefront of that. So it takes a lot of hard work and determination on our student athletes' part to maintain the balance needed to be successful in the classroom as well as on the athletic fields. We have a great resource on campus called the Cove. The Cove is an academic assistance center that is located right here on campus and is well resourced to help our student athletes out if needed. And we try to identify our student athletes who may be struggling, mid-semester and get them the appropriate help on campus, and get them plugged in with the Cove and supply the resources that they need. But on the front end, it comes down to recruiting the high academic kid, and we've talked a lot about establishing a culture here at Cedarville, and that's part of the equation and what we're looking for in the prospective students we're trying to bring here.
Well, certainly a testament to your staff, the faculty on campus, and truly the student athlete that comes to Cedarville, that you all have been able to garner this award for 13 straight years. So congratulations once again. And I know that's something certainly to be proud of. We're proud to have you and all of your student athletes as part of our league as well. I want to switch gears a little bit. We talked a little bit about the seat that you sit in. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but I want to kind of go all the way back to how you got started in athletics. And if you read your bio, you'll kind of see that you graduated from Alderson Broaddus and you're a West Virginia native and all of that. You have a master's degree from West Virginia University. But you'll also see that you kind of started in the athletic training space. So talk about maybe where that passion came from and really what your aspirations and goals were, coming out of high school into college, and kind of what you saw for yourself in this space, as you were getting out into the world, in that athletic training space.
Yeah, sure thing. I knew coming out of high school that I wanted to be continuing to be involved in athletics, and I was a basketball player and a golfer coming out of high school, and the golf wasn't a an opportunity, but I tried to make basketball an opportunity. But I quickly realized that I really couldn't guard anyone, so that faded away quickly, and focused on athletic training because I knew I wanted to stay involved in athletics, and that was a great path for me. The medical side fit my personality well, and just having the calm nature of being able to handle high pressure situations, and when student athletes are faced with the reality of maybe a season or a career ending injury, and be able to comfort them and reassure them, and give them the hope that there's more out there to life, and there's things that are bigger than our athletics ability at times, and so that really resonated with me coming out of high school. So I did that. Before I came to Cedarville, I was working at a small school in West Virginia, actually my hometown. But then heard about Cedarville, and it was a great fit. The mission was perfectly aligned with what I believe. We're a Christian institution, and we take that very seriously. And that resonated really well with who I was and who I am. So moved out here and from West Virginia, and took a role as an assistant athletic trainer, and then after a year was a head athletic trainer, then assistant athletic director for compliance. After about a career about 10 years in athletic training here at Cedarville, 15 years total in athletic training, and that was a fun time. I really enjoyed getting to know the student athletes and interacting with them. Um, it's always fun to be on the road. But there comes a time when, I started a family, had 3 young boys, and I thought, man, this road life is getting difficult, traveling a couple seasons out of the year. And I was presented with the opportunity to kind of move over into compliance. So I took a role as the first assistant athletic director for compliance here at Cedarville. We had one person doing compliance before that, but he had moved on, and he was just the director of athletic compliance. But that assistant AD role was something that I was looking forward to, and it kind of made the family life a little bit easier. And I was able to be more involved and coach some of my kids' teams, and that was really it really resonated with me, and that was a fun time. I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that. Did that for about what 8 or 9 years, and then had the opportunity to move into the AD role. Did it for an interim basis for a few months, and then thankful to Dr. White and his investment in me to serve in the role that I currently serve in.
Well, I want to go back. You mentioned your move to Cedarville and really the mission at the university as your reason, and really something that stood out for you. I think it's a lot of the reason why so many of your students come to campus is because of the mission, and it's really what stands out, and makes Cedarville a unique place to go to school. Can you talk a little bit more about that mission and what makes it so unique for maybe those who are listening who aren't as familiar with Cedarville University?
Yeah, absolutely. Cedarville's about the Word of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ, and we're definitely a different institution. Cedarville's not for everybody. We have things like daily chapel every day, 10 o'clock. Our student athletes, all students will converge on our campus chapel, and have an hour, 50 minutes together and worship and hear a speaker. And like I said, that's a daily thing for us. And sometimes student athletes think, and prospective student athletes think, man, that's overwhelming. I go to church every day. But as I talk to our graduates, I talk to alumni, and I look back and I ask them, hey, what do you miss most about Cedarville? And almost every time, those student athletes will tell me, those alumni will tell me it's chapel. I miss that time. So in the front end, it may seem overwhelming, but it's something that we look forward to on a daily basis, and a time to just take a deep breath and worship our Creator, and have a time where we have 3,000 people on campus in the chapel at a time, and just worshiping together. It's a sweet time, and it's very, very cool. So there's that, but all student athletes, or all students here at Cedarville, have to have a profession of faith in Christ, and so that's another thing that makes the culture a little bit differently. So we should be competing differently than a lot of schools. Our volleyball team does something that's really cool within their integrity, and they do something called the honor call. I think that rule's actually been taken out of the book, but when we started it years ago, you could if you touch a ball that's been hit at the net, you can tell the official if the official misses it. Hey, I touched the ball. You'll see our blockers doing this all the time, looking at the official. The officials now know we see that they know what they're talking about, and we can make that honor call. I've seen it work for us or work against us a number of times. It really cost us some difficult points, but that's who we are as an institution. It's who we are as an athletic department. We're trying to build that culture of integrity and competing for a higher purpose and a higher cause. At the Division II level, most of our student athletes aren't going to move on to the professional ranks. We've seen that happen here at Cedarville. We've got a number of student athletes who played professionally, but for the most part, they're doing something else. They're going to go professional in some other avenue of their life. And we want to make sure that they have a foundation built upon Christ and built on the Word of God that they can fall back on and understand that this is bigger than some wins and losses. And we talk about the culture in our athletic department. That's one of the things that I've tried to establish in my short time here as vice president for athletics. Is this is all about the culture. We want to make sure that when a student athlete walks out of Cedarville and walks across the stage of graduation, that they're a better mother, they're a better father, they're a better brother, better sister, better mom, better dad, better employee than what they were when they walked in. And they have a closer relationship with Christ than what they did when they walked in, 1,000 days previously.
Well, you also mentioned your transition from athletic training into compliance, which I is seemingly so very different than the medical side of working with student athletes on a daily basis, going to practice, traveling with them, being in the training room and really having a day-to-day interaction with them. I think we often talk about the interpersonal relationship that most of our athletic training staffs have with the student athletes, because they spend just as much time with them as they do with their teammates and their coaches. What was that transition like, going from seeing student athletes every day, being a part of the practice regimen, um, a- and all of that, to going to compliance, which is very much rules and regulations and making sure all the boxes are checked, and kind of learning a lot of what is part of NCAA legislation and things like that. What was that transition like for you to make after so many years in that space?
Yeah, it was hard. I'll be honest. I was really good friends with our previous compliance person here at Cedarville, Drew Howard, who's now the athletic director down at Florida Southern. He and I are continue to be good friends. We chat on a routine basis, and so I got to know him a little bit and got to see his world a little bit. And in athlete training, you still have to have a little bit of knowledge. You don't have the in-depth knowledge of compliance and legislation, but you do need to know a few bits and pieces. So I had a taste of it, but man, it was hard. I remember just studying the manual the first couple months and just being overwhelmed. And it's not just the manual, right? It's all the interps that you have on the NCAA website and the and the fact that everything's changing all the time and there's always curveballs and things coming at you. So that was a tough transition for me professionally. Now personally, it's different. Like I said, I was really involved in my family's life, and I have three boys and three young boys at the time, and I loved coaching them. And with athletic training, with the schedule that they have, it's very difficult. A lot of evenings and weekends, and it's been difficult for me to coach some of those basketball or football or baseball teams. But had the opportunity to do that. So that's what's really was what made the change worth it. I miss the daily interactions with the student athletes and helping them through the process of injuries and seeing the return to play aspects and feeling that joy with them. I remember, I got really close to a couple of our men's basketball players who had some devastating injuries. One had a shoulder dislocation. I think I reduced his shoulder, I don't know, 25 times in his 4 years here, and just seeing him through that was special. And I miss him, and we still talk from time to time. But those are the relationships that I miss. And had Abby Shelton back on campus. Her and Daniel Mahalski got married, and they were back on campus about a month ago. So it was fun catching up with her, and I was an athletic trainer for her, and seeing her kids now, and so in compliance, you don't get as much as that. There's a little bit of student athlete interaction, but sometimes it's because they're having class difficulties or other difficulties, and so that relationship isn't quite there. So I tried at times to kind of stay engaged with their student athletes, and that's part of my goals here is now as athletic director is just try and be involved in student athletes as much as I can, have them over to the house. I love smoking meat, so I'll throw a pork on there and have them over to the house and have some of my world famous queso that smoke too. But yeah, so I still try and stay engaged with them. But that was the difficult piece of it, is just missing those daily interpersonal interactions with our student athletes.
Well, Chris, I hadn't heard about this world famous queso. I think we're gonna have to see if we can't get some of that next time we're all together at one
How
of our
may
league meetings.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring that to the next GMAC meeting.
Yeah, there we go. You've talked about a lot of the transitions that you've made in your career. Most recently, that change from assistant athletic director for compliance to that VP of athletics. Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe not as different of a jump to be from a one admin space to another admin space, because you're not taking out the practices and the things like that. But what maybe is the biggest thing you've been able to take away from your journey from your college days and being an athletic trainer to the director of athletic training programs over years to being in that compliance space to now sitting in the seat that you're at now?
Yeah, it's all about people, and the relationships you can develop with folks, and seeing people flourish in their roles and empowering them to be successful, supporting them and whatever they have in front of us, and sometimes that means I'm taking out the trash, and sometimes that means I'm supporting them in an administrative role. So, but you're right, the switch from athletic training to compliance was a much more difficult transition for me than the compliance to vice president for athletics. Although this is a much more intense role, Dr. White, our president, has empowered me to really be in control of the athletic department. But it's more than that. I sit on the president's cabinet as well, and he expects that we all speak into all aspects of life on campus, not just, and for me, not just in athletics. He'll go around the room in our cabinet meetings and expect an answer, an educated, legitimate answer on all topics, whether that's building buildings on campus or academic calendars, those types of things. But I'm really thankful for Dr. White's leadership. He's been a real great, tremendous role model for me, and I love bouncing ideas off him. He's very wise and gives me great feedback. But for me personally, I think building into the lives of others is what's the most rewarding part of this job, and seeing other people flourish is just a motivating factor for me.
Well, transitions for you personally obviously have happened during your time at Cedarville, but you were also around during Cedarville's transition to the Great Midwest Athletic Conference and into the Division II space as a charter member of this league, and truly a founding member, a pillar of who we are here at the Great Midwest. Can you speak about, from your perspective, what that was like and how you've seen that come to fruition in the seat that you sit in today?
Yeah, I mean, the GMAC's growth has been amazing, and Commissioner Dager has just done a tremendous job in building this conference to what it is. I miss the days when Cedarville would dominate a lot of the sports, and in those early days we won a lot of conference championships, and those have been tougher to come by more recently. Although we had a great fall this year. Um, but the growth in the conference and bringing in the schools, Findlay, Hillsdale, Walsh, those schools, Thomas More, Northwood, all of them. I won't sit here and name them all, but they've been tremendous additions to the conference, and to see the conference grow in competitiveness from what it was when we first tried this venture and started a new conference from scratch, to what it is now is just a tremendous compliment and a tremendous accomplishment for Commissioner Dager. He's done a tremendous job in building this up, and all the accolades should be given to him, and he deserves all the rewards and and benefits of that. He's done a tremendous job, but it's definitely a tough conference. You look at our volleyball fall that we had, and we win the regular season conference and couldn't get into the NCAA tournament, and that was a tough pill to swallow. But that's because we have two other really strong teams in our conference that made it in, and Findlay and Ohio Dominican were deserving of that. And it goes right down the line. You look at we're starting basketball season here. We've got a few games under our belt now, and both the men and women's basketball leagues are just crazy strong, and cross country same way. The growth and the competitiveness in the conference is just night and day different from when we first started this endeavor.
When you look at, we've talked a little bit about how you balance academic success and athletic success, but when you're looking at the culture on campus, what are some of the things that you look in a coaching staff, or you're in the process of doing some of that hiring sometimes? How do you perpetuate some of that culture with the folks that you pick to lead some of these programs?
Yeah, I say you hire people, you don't hire positions. And again, the people have to fit within your culture and have to fit within the vision that the institution is trying to create. And I think, I've had the opportunity in my short time here as the VP for athletics to hire a few of our coaches. We've had more changeover in the last 5 years than I can remember. I've been here 23 years. And I feel like all I've done was hire head coaches in my short time here. But the Lord's blessed and has given us a wonderful coaching staff. And they just have to be, engaged and involved and in agreement with what we're trying to do as an institution and an athletic department. I think we've done a great job in attracting those folks to the head coaching roles in the last few years. And I tell our coaches, the wins and losses are the byproduct of the culture that you're developing, especially here at Cedarville. The best teams that we've had in my years here at Cedarville have always had the best cultures. The kids love one another. They're cheering for one another. They're encouraging one another. It doesn't matter who's scoring the points or who's getting the glory. They're all engaged with one another. And we're doing things like team devotionals and Bible studies and trying to build up student athletes, and they all need to be engaged with that. And the most successful teams we've had have had the best culture. So the winning is actually a byproduct of the improving the culture within our programs. And man, we're in a really good spot right now. This fall that we had was unbelievable. I think about the women's cross country team and Coach Bolander does a tremendous job with that program. Seventh place finished nationally at the national meet, and felt like we could have done a little bit better, but we had some illness heading into that meet. But just a tremendous job, an All-American there. And, with men's soccer, women's soccer, both making the national tournament, that was phenomenal. Our women's soccer and men's soccer culture, I mean, it is unbelievable. Coach Farrow and Coach Mead have these young men and women just loving one another, encouraging. And if you didn't have an opportunity to see any of our men's and women's soccer teams compete, man, it's a special thing. We're getting recruits knocking down our doors now that really have no business in Division II. They're mid-major to some are high major kids that are coming here, and we're really excited about the future of both those programs. And volleyball, man, they were just so close, just knocking right on the door. And what a tremendous year! Won the regular season G-MAC. But again, it's not about the wins and losses. It's about representing Christ well through our programs and giving back the gifts that we have, that we've received from Him, and showing others that there's something better than wins and losses. If you watch our teams play, and I think the GMAC volleyball championship game was a good indication of what our teams are all about. Man, it was a 5-set barn burner, and we were after that second set, I thought, man, we are in trouble. But our kids came back and they fought well, and they fought right to the end. Lost by a few points in that fifth set. And it was hard. That was tough. But if you look at what happened, our girls reaching out to the girls at Ohio Dominican and interacting with them and doing as they always do, giving them a gift and a personalized note, saying that there's more to this than volleyball, and we're going to do that, win or lose, win the big game or lose the big game. That's who we are, and that's who we intend to be.
Well, you may have potentially just spoke to it right there, but since you've taken over this seat in 2022, since you've been the head of the athletics department, What's something that you feel like you're most proud of, you can hang your hat on? There may be multiple things, but what's something that stands out to you, if you had to put your finger on something that you're most proud of that's happened on campus?
13 years of the President's Academic Award of Excellence is something that I high regard, high esteem. That's something that I think is important to our athletic department, important to our head coaches, and important to our student athletes. Student athletes take their academic responsibilities very seriously, and they don't want to be missing class. They sometimes give us a hard time for leaving a little bit early and for a road trip, but they get it. They understand that they're here to compete. They want to do that very well. So that's something that I'm really excited about. Um, the fall was tremendous. I don't know that we've had a more successful fall than what we had this year. But again, that's a byproduct of the culture that we're trying to instill in our coaches and our student athletes. And that's what I'm most proud of right now. Is I think everyone in the conference, I hope they would agree that playing Cedarville in a sport is an encouraging, fun thing to do, and that we're not taking cheap shots at anyone, or we're not trying to beat anyone down, but we're trying to be encouraging. We're trying to win with a lot of integrity, and we're trying to teach our young men and women what it means to be successful in the game of life. And that's what I'm most proud of. We've got student athletes serving on the GMAC SAC that are just tremendous men and women. Kaylin and Jensen who are serving there are tremendous, and they're just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm really, I think Jensen's going to be joining you guys as a intern next year, I think is what I've heard. So excited. You guys will enjoy him as well. But just that culture that I think we've created, you always have to work on culture. It's something that I do at a monthly basis at every department meeting that we have is speak into that culture. You've never arrived, and when you have arrived, it's going to pass you by. So it's something that we're going to work on continuously. And I'm going to remind the coaches are probably tired of me saying some of the same things, but it needs to be reinforced. And that is, we're here for a different reason. And one of the verses that we continuously talk about is 1 Corinthians 4:1. That's, let a man regard us in this manner as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. That's what I keep saying. We want to be known. We want to be known, but we want to be known for the right things. And that's as a servant of Christ and a steward of his mysteries. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. And I think we're in a good spot right now, but we're going to continue to work on it. We're going to continue to press into it, and we're going to continue to challenge our student athletes to compete for him.
We're certainly thankful for students like Kaylin, who serves as our vice president of our SAC. And you are right, Jensen Wagner will be joining us next semester to serve as one of our communications interns. So we're excited to be able to utilize some of our student athletes here in the GMAC to help us out. And of course, their involvement in SAC is crucial. They help set the standards for classes to come. And I think that's what's helped our SAC remain thriving, because they've had people before them that have set the standard, and it just kind of continues. So we're certainly thankful for the example that the folks at Cedarville have set for them. You've talked a lot about the culture, and I think that's a huge buzzword in college athletics right now, because there are so many things that are moving and shaking. And when we talk about culture and you look at the landscape of college athletics right now, what are some of the things that you all do at Cedarville? How do you balance tradition while college athletics is maybe anything but traditional right now?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, we're in a crazy time now. We're trying to figure all these things out, from NIL to, whether we're going to have 5 years of eligibility, extending seasons. A lot of interesting topics that's going to come out in January at the D2 vote at the national convention. But I think just staying relevant to what's happening and trying to provide the best opportunity for our student athletes. It should be at the tip of all of administrators in our conference. We're all trying. We've got a great group of ADs in our conference, and there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of years of experience in that room when we have those meetings, and they're all doing a tremendous job. And I think just trying to discern what's important and how things should be, and at the end of the day, making sure that we're making decisions that are in the best interest of our student athletes, and providing them a direction and a clear path, and really being mentors for them, being able to set the standard, and kind of show them some things that maybe mistakes that we've made, and learn from. But I think we've got to stay on top of it. We got to make sure that we are making decisions that are in the best interest of student athletes. So um, when we're talking about NIL at the D2 level, like what's the best way to do this? What's best for Cedarville, and what's best for our student athletes to take advantage of that, but still do this in the right way, and making sure that our donor base is in alignment with what we're trying to do. We've got a different set of conservative donors at Cedarville, and not all would agree with the NIL. So make sure we're in that space, and that's relevant for our donor base, which has been a struggle. We have a few opportunities for NIL on the smaller scale type of thing, but you know, athletics has been, ever since that I've kind of transitioned coming through the end of COVID into this, and serving as a compliance person during COVID. I mean, if you haven't learned how to adjust and adapt to the happenings in the world in the last few years, I don't, maybe you're probably not going to learn, because there's been lots of opportunities to adjust and adapt. So yeah, we just want to make sure that we're providing a mentoring relationship with our student athletes, and providing the best opportunities for them to be successful both on and off the field.
Well, Chris, we've talked a lot about things of the past and things of the present, but is there anything that you're excited about future-wise when it comes to, I know maybe there's some things maybe you can't tell us that are in the works, but anything that you can share with us that you're excited about on campus at Cedarville?
Yeah, Cedarville's a fun place to be at right now. We're in a unique spot. We continue to have record enrollments on campus. We're just tremendously blessed. It's all a direct cause of the leadership of Dr. Thomas White. I mean, he's done a tremendous job keeping us true to our history, and true to our mission. He's just a tremendous leader, and has really set us up for success on campus. And we continue to have struggles that not a lot of other schools are having. If you've been on campus recently, you see that we're building buildings. I can't even tell you. I think there's 9 buildings in 10 years we've built on campus. It's been tremendous. I look out my window at the Schaumburg Business Center, the $40 million building that was paid for in cash. You look down the street, there's a 250 some bed dorm that was paid for in cash, that was built, that we thought was going to give us some elbow room in terms of housing students. It's completely full. So we're scrambling right now to build apartments across the street. We had to reroute our cross country course because we needed that space to build apartments across the street. So we've got 4 buildings happening or going up right now. The Lord willing, we need completed by the fall, or we're going to have a struggle trying to get our incoming freshmen in next year. Dr. Scott Van Loo, our vice president for enrollments, done a tremendous job in attracting students here. So we're on track to have another great year next year, and so it's really exciting. And that's not even to mention the Bolt House Academic Center that's going up. It's a tremendous building, the 3 stories, a big dome on top. That's going to be kind of a pillar of our campus. It's going to be a really landmark spot on campus. Just tremendously exciting. But not just across campus, but even in the athletic department. We are just finishing up. Lord willing, today I think is the finish date. We're putting the finishing touches on our new golf building, indoor 55 by 60 foot golf building. The 3 bays to hit out of that we're tremendously excited about. We're going to break ground soon on a new press box for our athletic fields. It's a lot of fun to be here at Cedarville right now, and the Lord's blessing, and it's just a really cool place to be at right now.
Lots of fun things happening in Southwest Ohio, and a lot of great problems to be having if you can't figure out where to put incoming freshmen, that's for
That's
sure.
right.
Well,
That's right.
Chris, we certainly appreciate your time today, appreciate your insights on everything, and of course, wish you guys the best of luck, and hope you have a great holiday break. I know we're quickly approaching finals and all of that as things kind of wrap up for this semester, and we head into the second half of the winter season and into spring. It'll be summer before we know it.
Yeah, looking forward to that. But let's not miss the Christmas season and what it's truly all about. So Merry Christmas to you, Katie, and the rest of the G-MAC crew up there.
Wanna hear you go.